Hello, this is Phil Simmons. The yacht is Lemon and Lime. She is a Sun Odyssey, Jean Sun Odyssey 42 DS. Some of you may recall a previous recording concerning the windows that I put in as a result of some fairly serious leaks over a period of time. Well, I wanted to carry on putting a few videos up of different things that I'm doing. They're not funded in any way by anybody, but I wanted to put them up so as people could see general direction of travel of maintaining the boat over a period of time. This one is concerning the C80 Chart Plotter, finding the diagnostics of what the cause of the problem was and then doing a repair. It's a short video around the electronics pack, removing it and conducting the repair. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please subscribe. The issue began with some of the hard keys, a couple of the hard keys at the bottom not working. The first one was the clear button. I didn't really notice that to begin with. I noticed that it wasn't pinging when I pressed it. I never thought anything more because you can correlate the two and you can use the OK key to clear as well. But when the red button on the end, the stop-start button, began to fail, I noticed that the only way to turn it on, so it came on immediately, it was powered up without the use of the red button. Began to start off with that everything was fine and I could still find the radar and the AIS, but over the next couple of months, I found it difficult to then locate the radar. It wouldn't find it in the end, and so I knew something was wrong. So what I did was to then take the covers off. They're basically a ping-off cover followed by a gasket, which you can see the white gasket there, to get at the red button behind. Once you have the front cover and the white gasket out, and there is then a metal plate that goes around it, and you ping them off, you're left with the offending circuit board, to me, which was the front one. It's an L-shaped piece. It's got 3 clips on it. You prise the clips and it lifts away. It's got a ribbon cable at the bottom, so be very careful with the ribbon cable. But basically, once you're in, then you've got 2 sides of it. The top side, which is the red button you see there, which is your on-off button, and then you turn it over and it's got a number of tracks the other side. I hadn't appreciated that the problem was actually the opposite side. So when you lift it up and turn it over, you begin to see where the problems are. One of my first fears, was that the button, the red button that you see on this next photograph, was actually damaged in some way and therefore it wasn't working. So I went online to Amazon Germany, as it happened, because I was residing in Portugal, and ordered a pack of 200, would you believe, various size switches with 4 legs, etc., for the total price of about €7. So they're not expensive, but obviously you've got to solder them on. This photograph shows you the new switch that's in position. It's one of those I referred to, fairly cheap to buy online. 4 legs, and again you can check continuity with your voltmeter that it's actually operational. What you will also see slightly above it is another track that had been worn through on the opposite side, but the only way to get it, because it was a very short piece of track, was to solder it on the top side. So you'll see a small solder joint and a repair on the top part of this printed circuit board. On the top side of the circuit board, where the switch is, the red on-off switch is, I had noticed there was a piece of track that had gone black. Now, I started to think that that was a perfectly usable track and just a bit of water had got in behind it. But if you put your voltmeter across it, so you scratch a little bit of the sealant of the track before it and a little bit afterwards, and put your voltmeter on it, you should get a reading, which is a continuity reading on your voltmeter. I wasn't getting one, which meant that track was actually broken. So one of the repairs was to solder in a piece of wire across that to bridge that particular break. So turning the printed circuit board over, you'll see now that there are 2 areas where we have a problem. And the first one is there. So you can see the track itself is worn away. It's not completely broken as it happens, but it's worn away. But that one there is actually worn through. That's the one that my wife spotted, as Irene spotted. And that one is actually worn away too. Now, interestingly, you can see here a line all the way down. And that is where the printed circuit board rests on the plastic frame. So over a period of time, what's happened is the vibration coming through the boat while it's in use has meant that this board has basically rubbed against the frame, the plastic frame, and worn the track out, which is, from a design perspective, you've got to say that's pretty poor design. However, it goes in numbers of places. You can see across the board in a number of places where exactly the same occurs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair these two tracks, and I'm probably not going to show you the process of doing that. They're relatively easy, very fiddly, but relatively easy. And then I'm going to have a look and show you obviously the end result, and then put it back on the boat, and you'll see that the item is then working, we hope. So now I want to just talk quickly about the track repairs themselves, not in great detail. I'm not going to show you the actual process. You can find that online. There are lots and lots of examples of people who are doing track repairs. As you'll notice, my track repair is not the prettiest in the world, but it is functional, and that's the important thing. The first thing is you do need a very small soldering iron, very small diameter solder. You need non-contaminant flux, so you don't have to clean up after you. Although I used alcohol in terms of cleaning it down. And then I used a sealer, a printed circuit board sealer, to make sure that there were no exposed circuit board elements, wires, etc., without some form of covering on them. So in essence, what you do is to use a scalpel, a very sharp, fine scalpel. You scratch the surface of the track that is exposed. It will come up as copper, so you'll see it. It's very easy to see. You do that both sides. You can either lay in some wire, replacement wire, which has got to be roughly the same cross section as the track you've got, so it's quite thin. It's quite small diameter. You lay it in place, solder it in place, and then once you've cleaned it up with the alcohol, you can then seal it with a sealer. Each one then I scrape a little bit more track beyond both parts and check for continuity, just to make sure that we've got everything in place. But with all of that done, there was something like 6 areas where the track had been worn through on the printed circuit board frame. Once that's done, then you can move on then to the final test. So this is now the corrected C80 Raymarine, as a result of stripping it down, looking at the front board. We noticed that the front board reverse side of the tracks had worn away in several places, and therefore each of the buttons, so the cancel and the OK button didn't work, the on-off had stopped working, and as a result of that particular one, you couldn't then get the correction for the AIS and the radar to work, because it wouldn't power up the radar. So that was the first thing I noticed, but actually when I recall, I remember that the clear button over here, the cancel button over here, actually had stopped pinging as well. So you can hear in them that they're now working, and so on. But these had stopped working at the bottom, and that's because the hard plastic on the casing where the printed circuit board sat had worn away. So that's now all working, but it had meant that I had to do resolder pieces of wire or pieces of solder in place of the worn out track, and then repack the casing around it with rubber, thin rubber, to obviously help in terms of the positioning of the welded or soldered tracks on there. But that's all now all working, it's all functioning again. I had actually bought a replacement unit, which is that one there, That particular unit is working fine. It needed a bit of setup, but apart from that, everything was working well. So I now have a replacement that I can put into the hold just in case. But I'm very pleased with that. But it has taken some time to diagnose the areas. You do need a voltmeter as well, a small voltmeter, to make sure that the tracks are operational in there. But it's I'm very pleased with that.